Now let's continue on with what I was saying about foster care, civil rights, Suboxone, and about what I'm going through with Child Protective Services. Let's continue on. As I mentioned before about the mouth surgery, please bear with me. I would love to have them fixed, but right now, let's face it, United States doesn't want to see too many people do too good, because if we all do too good, think about it, who would work at McDonald's? Certainly not my daughter or my children. So let's turn around and continue with this. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for bearing with me on my lack of skills on getting this wrapped up here. Okay, so we left off with me telling you about where I stood asking the state for help, and that was back in August of 2013. They came in once, left, came in about a week later, decided that they didn't think I was civil in my head enough to take care of my 6 children, and decided to take 5 of them out. One was already of age, and bring them to some place they thought they were more safer, which was ironic because the places they think are safer are no better than what they are already in, regards to being already in a home that already has problems. They just transfer them into another home that has problems. The only difference is maybe that home they think is more clean cut. Not necessarily, because a lot of times these homes actually don't even have beds ready for these children to come in, and that's another story we'll get into. But my children ended up being with my sister for about 9 months, and then they ended up getting into foster care, and along the lines of that, and I will go into further details of that if I find it necessary, if it has anything else to do with this story that I'm telling you right now, which it really does. So what I'm mad about is that I am being accused of being a crackhead, basically. All the paperwork that is written about me all has to underline about being a crackhead or anything to do with substance abuse. And it's really ironic because I've had the same doctor for 6 years, minus 2 years because I got set up with one of the programs that the state had me go to, which is, in my personal experience, a lot of BS. Because they know they're getting paid for the services rendered by me going to them for their help. Remember, that's where the phrase comes in. Other people's miseries is other people's profit. I am making these people get a job for my mistakes that I've had in my life, any troubles that I've had in my life. And these people don't think I don't seem to be getting that. And I keep reminding them, damn guys, you wouldn't have a job unless it was people like me that have gotten into some bad conflictions in my life, or even some other people causing confliction in my life, such as being abused or neglected even myself. I'm not saying I was, but other things bad did happen to me. And by that, you're making money off of that misery, and that's where the whole theory comes in. Other people's miseries is other people's profits. I hope you understand that now. I hope I could clear that up without getting further to do about it. I find these people have basically taken my civil rights and just stampeded it. If it wasn't stampeded before, it certainly has now. I certainly am not the only American, or so-called American, that was born in this country that has had their civil rights violated. By violated, I mean I haven't been heard. I haven't been heard correctly. I remained quiet. I was told to compose myself. I was told I wasn't supposedly vile to, but I was speaking very erratically, and it was making it look like I was on something. Well, let's figure this. The reason why most people like myself would talk erratically and irrationally, you just took 5 of my kids out of 6 out of my home, and you're not really helping me. And you're not concerned that I'm not finding a place to stay at night. to sleep and sleep safely. These are the lawyers, all those people that are supposedly hired to help you. So I was led to believe, like judges and lawyers and Guardian Lighthouse and this. They're concerned about their own self interest, not about you. And no, not about your children. They'll sell that story to you, but it's not true. We all know that if you get further into this whole case of having your children taken away, at first you want to believe this is what they're all about, but we all eventually have come to learn, for those of us who have been into this program long enough, it's self-interest. It's totally self-interest. If it wasn't for them having us have misery in our lives, they wouldn't have a job. They would have to find something else to push a pen around or a pencil around or fiddle with the computer to make themselves look important and dress in their little business suits. Um, and let's face it, I myself thought I wanted to do a job to help children. Myself wanted to adopt out children, foster children, until I realized I didn't have the character in myself to have the ability to raise them as correctly as I would like to see them raised, because I saw more of the atrociousness of these kids before they get to you. They have a lot of heartaches and stuff. And I thought I had enough of my own growing up. I don't know if I would be fair enough to be able to handle their misery on top of my own. Until I could get myself more stable, I wouldn't be good for these people. That's what I mentioned in the other video. I would not be a foster parent, and neither would a lot of my friends and stuff, because they know that the few $100s or whatever they get a month is not worth it. And I'm not going to go selling a child their parent's soul by saying they have an awful parent. I know my children are being told this. I have two daughters so far out there in the state where I am that are told that their mother's nothing but a drug addict and is doing crack or whatever the substance may be of their choice of the week that they decide on. That's what I'm doing. I'm chasing it. And they're probably doing it in a very subdued attitude and thinking they're being very professional about it. If there's such a word, professional, lack of a better word, one doesn't come to mind right now. But they're trying to be very sophisticated on the way they're handling it. It would be a big lie, and it would be a big lie if I do not get this video out there to tell my children the truth. I don't know how many other parents have done this to tell their children, look, I do not do what they tell you that I am doing. This is why your mother cares enough to make this video, to make sure that you understand correctly what the system does, what your mother is saying to you. The only one that will tell you the truth, just like my mother did to me, and it was hard at times for her, is at least tell you the truth, because there's not that many people in this world that really give a darn ass about you. If these people did not make money off of my children by fostering them out or adopting them, they would have no regards to my two daughters right now, and they could not tell me differently, because that's why they had to put these things in place back in '74 with Mondale and again with Clinton, so they could try maybe not to have so many orphans around, or orphan homes. They would be able to find themselves more having the kids go into, quote, a normal family home, which we all know is not true, because I've been around enough homes that have foster kids or adopted kids and see that these homes are just like any other homes. They have their ups, their downs, and a lot of times the foster kids or adopted kids do not come out any more better just because they now have supposedly a home versus a building where they're being more housed as a group. It seems to make sense. It might have some sense to it, but I don't see it, because a lot of my friends that I know have come from foster or adopted homes end up not caring for the parents that adopted them or fostered them, and it's sad because it's a very falsely stated. I'm not saying all, but a lot that I have personally know say no, they found no connection to the regards of the parent, wanting to take care of them, because what these parents usually have in mind is a fictional type situation, like the kid's gonna love them and it's gonna be like an Ozzie and Harriet type of situation with white picket fences and all the, little white ponies, and it doesn't happen like that. And here in Maine, we just recently had a story, well, actually, it's 15 years ago, we had this story, and it is still being regards to now because the person's getting out of jail, and if you want to look that up, be my guest, look it up. I think a lot of people get this fairy tale thing that it's going to be like one of those cutesy little baby dolls and they're going to do what you want, walk, talk, and do everything you say they're going to do. Even if they're called normal when they're born, you're going to find that this child, just like any other person, is going to be their own person, and they're not going to conform to exactly the rules that you wanted to instill on them. They might have some. I have some that my mother instilled on me, but that doesn't mean I'm totally like my mother. That's why it's usually better to have a child to stay with the original parents, because those parents usually have more of a comprehension of the way the child will be versus a stranger, because they'll have more of a background. To me, this is why I don't understand why they separated the family to begin with, why they're separating families to begin with. All the money basically that's based on trying to get the help for the kids and hiring these lawyers and these counselors should be invested on the family, not giving these other people jobs. It should be consistent on the family in itself. And it's not happening that way. And we all know it, that has been in this problem themselves. We all know that the main goal is for other people to make money, not for the family to be reunited. They'll put it cutely on paperwork and sophistically on paperwork, and we all damn know that have been into this whole process of having this happen to us, where our family starts getting more segregated. They start to move the children further away from you, and if you have, like me, hard to get around, transportation, they purposely, and I was told this up front by someone else that had experienced this, they'll purposely get the children further away from you so that it would be harder for you to see them, especially if you live in a cold climate and you've got a lot of snowstorms, you got more obstacles in the way and more hiccups, and next thing you know, they're going to make you look like you no longer care about your child because you're not making the effort to go and visit them because they're 2 to 3 hours away from you, which mine were, my two daughters. I personally also wanted to mention that these people never introduce themselves that have the custody of my children right now, my two daughters. I think that is very tacky and very irresponsible of the system. What is it that made these people have any more trust to be with my children than I do? I've never met these people before, and yet they have the ability to all of a sudden raise my children. Why? Because they have a few more dollars? A lot of people have a few more dollars than I do, but yet it's funny, those same people that I also thought were richer than me financially are dumber than me in a lot of other categories. So that there does not make sense. If you're richer, you're smarter. If you're not as rich, you're dumber. You just basically clash two types of personalities together, and that's not going to mix up well, especially in the court system, because you're basically saying only the rich are going to be heard and the poor aren't. And basically it is true, because when I was in court, I didn't have as much to say. I could see my guy being shushed, the father of my 6 children being shushed. I could see my lawyer placing his hands kind of near me to kind of keep me to not say as much. I wasn't vulgar or volatile or any of those things that so many people suggested I could be, because it's a very upsetting process here. And as you're having some judge who doesn't know you from Adam's deciding the rest of your fate of your life for you, personally, I will never give this up. You're talking about my children. You're not talking about strangers. You're talking about children that I gave birth to, that I risked my life to have. I gave a lot of time and effort to my children. When they're older, they could tell you the things that I can do, and as they get older, they can tell you in a more clarified way that I was there for them for Christmas. And yes, did I get into some sort of deal with some medication? Yes. Did it wrap up my whole life? No, it wasn't my whole life. It wasn't even a good percentage of my life. The paperwork will make it look like it's my life. The court system will make it look like it was my life. And this is why I'm on the internet now, to explain to these people and to the system and to everybody that you take one little small percentage of a wrongdoing and they'll explode it into that's how you were for your whole life. I personally cannot see anybody wanting to separate a family. If you have a heart, if you have a family of your own, if you have a conscience, I personally can't see how these people can have a job and actually do stuff like this. Personally, I think they're personally missing something in their heads, because I couldn't do a job like that. I could not be responsible and find myself breaking up a family. I have seen some pretty bad families, and even then, I remember people whispering into me and saying they're better off with them than they are with a stranger, because chances are somebody else could be even worse. There are circumstances I do believe a child should be removed and be with some other family. I do. And there's other people that had the same beliefs in that. That I totally can see. But when you're talking about totally subjugating a family, that is a very harsh thing to do. And for the people that are able to do that, I personally cannot see how they can do it, because they think they're putting these children into better homes, and come to find out my kids are being abused by other people, and they don't even have beds they're sleeping in. They're seeing stuff, and they're seeing stuff they won't even witness in their own house. If I was so bad as they were saying I was, my kids were not seeing or was there these things going on. And there's horror stories my kids are telling me about what they personally had witnessed, and being threatened and bullied, and people that were doing things that were much, much worse beyond what I could even imagine. I could even have the possibilities, or anyone like their father doing. They were doing drugs. They were having company over that didn't need to be there, for instance, without getting into heavy details. And it's a